Obviously, creative people need to exaggerate their feelings for the sake of creativity. And this is why creative writing is known as a work of art. Welcome to Behind the Words, a program that flips through the pages of literature books. It brings out the beauty of the writing and the big picture behind the words. I'm Hassan Abdusalam, and with me is a renowned writer, Mr. Eric Nsuta Andover. Mr. Eric, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Hassan.
Welcome to Behind the Words. This is a wonderful program that talks about your angle, writing. Yes. Well, but first, my viewers, let's meet Mr. Eric. Who is Mr. Eric? Mr. Eric Andover Nsuta is a doctorate student at Bayero University. He is a communication scholar. He obtained a master's degree of science in mass communication from Bayero University, Kano in 2018, a bachelor's degree in the same university in 2014. He is a poet, a dramatist, and an author. His fiction draws heavily on the oral tradition of the African people. He weaves folk tales into the fabric of his stories, illuminating societal values in both the content and the form of the story writing. Another hallmark of him is the use of proverbs. Mr. Eric uses a lot of proverbs. You will get to know as the program unfolds. His proverbs illustrate the values of the African tradition. He uses traditional ties to explain modern-day politics. His writings laid a formidable groundwork by altering syntax, usage of idioms. He also transforms the language into a distinctive African style. Mr. Eric has published a lot of papers in several national and international scholarly journals and attended and participated in several conferences and workshops on communication, media, and journalism. He is a member of the ACSPN and ACCE, and he is an award winner of campus journalism as syndicated writer in 2018 and book author in 2019. He featured prominently in the following newspapers: Daily Trust, The Guardian, The Sun, The Punch, The Nation, Vanguard, Nigerian Tribune, News Digest, and Blueprint newspapers. He is the author of the following textbooks: Contemporary Approach to Social Science Research in 2020, Fundamentals of Mass Media and Communication Research in 2018, Selected Themes in Specialized Reporting in 2018, Fundamentals of Media English in 2018, A Perspective Approach of Peace, Journalism and Development in 2018, Understanding Safety and Protection in Nigeria's Journalism in 2017, The Ghost Gun, the book of which we are going to, digest today, The Ghost Gun. He wrote The Ghost Gun and published it in 2015, The Thief Land, also in 2015, Painful Victory of Africa, also in 2015, Freedom in the Grave in 2014, Tears of Destiny in 2012, and many more. He is currently the guest editor of Science Publishing Group, PG, New York, USA, and reviewer editor of Academia Scholarly Journals. This is a few of the pedigree of Mr. Eric Andover Nsuta. Mr. Eric, you're welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you have, it is obvious here that you have, you have achieved a lot in terms of pen and paper, let me put it this way, writing. And, well, I want to ask this question, Mr. Eric, what is writing to you, generally? Because a lot of people have different perception, different definition as to what writing is to them. To you, what is writing? Because obviously you have, your life is writing.
Yes.
So what is writing to you?
All right. Before I will answer the question, let me say a few words about the presenter.
Okay.
Hassan here is a prolific writer. He literally forced me hard when I wanted to rest for hours during my undergraduate days. He drummed into my ear the futility of leaving your potential locked in your brain, which significantly stimulated and sustained my desire as a writer.
Wow.
Once again, thank you very much for being so instrumental in my career as a writer.
Mr. Eric, you're welcome. You are my master now.
Uh,
I'm your protege now. You are my mentor. So because you mentor me, you inspire me. All right, Mr. Eric.
all right, writing.
Yes.
You see, writing means different things to different people.
Yeah, truthfully.
But writing, to me, is the contrast of reading and speaking.
Okay.
To me, writing is studying to be silent but vocal in assembling words on paper. You study to be silent, but you be vocal in assembling words on paper. As a writer, I believe that it is fundamentally important to identify things that are essential to humanity, to ask hard questions and ascertain answers to them.
Yes.
That is why when you read, it's not just I have the capacity to write. And when I read, I understand and situate everything within the local context. And it is paramount for me, since I don't have the capacity to assemble everybody in one place
Yes.
and then educate them on the societal vices, then I think, or I take it upon myself that, okay, since I have the gift of writing, let me assemble this on a paper, which I believe it will go a long way to educate people regarding my piece of writing.
Right. I can't help it, but I still need to poke you a little bit.
Okay.
You know, haven't seen your achievements so far. You have written a lot of books. You know, in 2018, you have written about 4 to 5 different books, and all of these books are more like the academic books. They are
Yes, yes.
academically related.
Yes.
And in 2015, you have also written a lot of novels. You understand?
Yes, yes.
And I kept wondering, where are your inspirations coming from?
Oh, that's interesting. I got my inspiration from reading and my conscience.
Okay.
And what is conscience? Conscience is that part of your mind that tells you whether your action is right or wrong. When I read and understand the scenario of what is happening in our society, then I ask myself, as a writer, what do I have to do to make sure that to a point I'm able to change the scenario or to make people to be aware of this is what is happening? Then I will take it upon myself. When I read, then I have a conscience, and then I ask myself, what do I have to do in this perspective? Then I will be left with no choice than to write and educate people, because once I assemble words on a paper, I make sure I publish them, and they are both published both in hard copy and in soft copy, and it goes a long way to educate people concerning the societal happenings.
Okay. Also, you became an editor of some publishing company. You understand? Editing even scholarly journals.
Yes, yes.
You understand? Let me stroll down the memory lane when I knew you, Mr. Eric. I knew you were undergraduate students at the time I knew you, and I never saw this, that you're going to even be this prolific. But then, because of your hard work and persistent effort, you made it to this level. But how did you become a an editor of these publishing companies? Not even just in Nigeria, even in the US.
Oh, that's interesting. Hassan, let me tell you, where you want to be tomorrow is a function of what you do today.
Truly.
When I was writing, I not just only write, I also conduct research. I do so many research, and I make sure I publish them. And once you publish most of this research, sometimes I don't publish them in the local journals. I publish them in international journals, and they make it available online. Along the line, people tend to read this work, and most of the scholars in the field tend to find this work very interesting. And sometimes they email me, okay, how can we get in touch with you? And they send some papers, go through, okay, review them and send it back to us. Let's see. And in doing so, I perform excellently. And to say, wow, this guy, be our editor or our reviewer. Wow. And to tell you, I'm good in review.
Wow. All right. I think I must commend your effort, and I must say that anytime in future that I am able to conclude whichever work work of art I'm working on,
Yeah.
I will confidently bring it to you for reviewing and possibly editing too.
No problem.
But then, now let's go back to the business. Mr. Eric, we're here to digest
The ghost gone.
the ghost gone. Yes. Now let's look at the general perspective of the ghost gone first.
Okay.
Yes. What brings about the idea of this very book? Because obviously a lot of people may have seen this book even on the market,
Yes.
and they may just look at the title of the book, and some people will just look at the book and say, wow, the ghost gone, and just walk past it. You get? If you don't read the book, you may not really understand that even this ghost gone is really a ghost of the gone that so I mean, what is the general the overview of this book?
All right. I wrote this book in 2015 when I was serving in Lagos as a copper. And along the line, I was reading literature. And when I read, I come across so many things. One of which was The Casualties by J.P. Clark.
J.P. Clark.
Mm.
I think I have read that too.
And he said, I quote, that those of us that are gone are better off. That some of us that are alive are the casualties. And I keep wondering, what did he mean by that? Obviously, when I go through and reflect on his writing, the happenings in the society, you see, day in, day out, people are dying. People are dying. The innocent souls are dying day in, day out. Now the question is, who are the perpetrators? Who are those behind the killings? These people live among us. They are not foreigners. They live within the society. But why is it difficult for we to fetch them out or to identify who are the people killing who? Then I thought of this. And I said, fine. If the society we live in cannot identify people that are pushing the lives of innocent souls into their airy grave, then it could be the ghost gone. And that is when I derived the inspiration in writing this book. And the ghost gone, the novel centers on the life of a young man who was forced to go into war in a village called Duku, following the failure of people in authority to live up to their responsibilities. His name is Azza, who is the protagonist of the novel. Now, the novel begins in a flashback with Azza narrows escape from a typical traditional African society where the killing of innocent souls and energetic people that hold the center of the society remain unstressed. Now, the missing link of this identification and to bring the perpetrators to book hold the center of this novel. The Ghost Gone tackles the theme of a wake-up call to all of us, especially the youth in Africa. It is not imperative to sow the seeds of catastrophe, as no one knows the augury of tomorrow, as Azza, a great man in the thief tradition, could not adapt to the profound changes brought about by the Ghost Gone. And that is the synopsis of the Ghost Gone.
All right, Mr. Eric,
Yes.
let's go out on a quick break and come back and continue.
Thank you.
And I hope you are with us. This is Behind the Words, and behind the words lies the big picture. We'll go out on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue. Welcome back. This is Behind the Words, and behind the words is the big picture. And I am Hassan Abdul Salam, your host on this show, and with me is Mr. Eric. And today we are discussing The Ghost Gone. This is a book that was written by, Mr. Eric. He's here with us, and he's here to give us the big picture behind the words of this book. Mr. Eric, you're welcome.
Thank you very
Having
much.
given us the little synopsis of this very book, I want to know, is this book a fiction or a non-fiction?
That's interesting. Well, if you read some of my books, some of them are non-fiction, but I try to put everything in fiction. And what is fiction? Fiction is an imaginative story, a creative thinking that sometimes it appears to be real, but you tend to put it in a perspective that seems not to be. Now, if you look at what is happening in our own society today, now I try to paint a clear picture so that we should be able to understand, especially the youth, because the youth tend to see that the best way to change or to address situations in the society is by taking guns, killing people, and all that violent. That is not the paramount. That is not always the issue. If you read Things Fell Apart by Lechin Ochebe,
Yes.
if you look at the protagonist of the novel, the attributes of Okonkwo, it's a clear picture of what the youth in this country operate. Because Okonkwo was a man who believes that power settles everything. And the same thing, if you look at the issue of banditry, kidnapping, Boko Haram, corruption, and all this, hired assassin, it's because of most of this issue. The youth, instead of us to create a conducive environment that we attract investors to come and invest and we create opportunity for people that are jobless, we keep on fighting, thinking that the only way, the easy way to get rich is to maybe by intimidation or by violence, and which is not acceptable, because the approach, it's not always the issue of using the carrot and stick in applying all these things to settle issues. Sometimes we always believe in power, this, that. That is not always the issue. Sometimes when we face a situation, by the time we begin to fight and do, we are simply using the approach of a madman, where maybe he's trying to settle the problem of a rat in his house by setting the house on fire. Then at the end, we end up sleeping in the rain. You understand? So we should be able to understand. Most of the times, I tend to blame the politician and the youth. The politician on one hand and the youth on the other. Because most of the times, if you see what is happening within the local context, the politician has their own share. Because during election, you see them. Sometimes I ask, this kind of guns that these people are carrying, tormenting people here and there, where do they get access to this? But the truth is, most of the time during election, you see, politicians will be providing weapons to people, to some of these youth, so that they will be able to win election. And after the election is over, what next? Sometimes when you call this, bring out the weapons, they will not bring these weapons back, and they will use such weapons and they will start perpetrating evil in the society. You understand?
Yes.
Now, on the aspect of the youth, once they know that, okay, we have guns, we have the power, we can do everything, then they start terrorizing the society, which is unacceptable. Now, for us to be able to move forward as a society or as a nation, we must be able to ask ourselves, what are the things that we need to do? Because one thing I like in writing is I raise issues, and at times in the course of writing, I'm able to address them. But one thing is people hardly read books. Just the way,
yes.
Just the way Malcolm X says that the best way to hide something from a black is to put it in a book, which is also subject to debate anyway. But that is the truth. There's some elements of truth in the statement.
Truthfully, yes.
Yes. Because if we read, when I read the book, There Was a Country by Lechin Ochebe, Now,
I think
yes,
that was the last book
yes,
he
that
wrote.
was his last book.
Yes.
Now, he reviewed the unhealed nation, wound of this nation. He reviewed the unhealed wound of this nation. And he pointed out a specter of tribalism and ignorance that started the Civil War in 1966. He argued that the mediocrity of political inaptitude is what is exacerbating the killings we are witnessing today. And that is true. Now, when you read this and you understand the reason behind the happening, you can be able to provide solution. But sometimes most people don't read, and when you don't read, when you refuse to follow the word pattern, you suffer the word system.
All right. Let me reason a little.
Yes.
You know, in the course of writing, sometimes what makes people, you know, there are people who have potentials actually.
Yes.
They want to write, just like you're doing. Because I'm beginning to see that your writing strikes similitude with that of Chinua Achebe.
Yes.
Yes, because obviously, if you go through this book very well, and you have read Things Fall Apart, you have read The Trouble with Nigeria.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
You have read There Was a Country.
Yes.
There's this striking similarities,
Yes.
you know, in the plot
Yes.
mostly. Now, you have written your first book. This is not your first book,
Yes.
isn't it?
It is.
I think, if I remember vividly, The Tears of Destiny
Yes.
was your first novel.
Exactly.
Now, having written that novel, and now you have pointed out that the people in Nigeria, blacks in Africa, we don't read. What is that thing that keeps making you feel passionate about writing? You're writing, people are not reading, and you kept writing. You know, to your credit, you have plenty of books. You know, both the academic books and literature books.
Yes.
You have them to your credit. Yet you still write. I believe you still work on some
Exactly.
piece now. Now people don't read books yet. You keep writing. What is that thing that keeps you keeps you on board, keeps you on your table, makes you stay awake at night and keep writing, putting your pen to paper, making your pen to gypsy across the paper? What is that thing?
That's my conscience. Despite the fact that sometimes I write, and if people are not reading, that does not make me to stop writing, because I still have my conscience.
Yes.
I still feel whether what I'm doing is right, because when I read and understand what scholars are trying to establish or articulate within the local context, what we are passing through. Now, if I keep quiet, it doesn't make any sense.
True.
I should keep advocating, telling people. I believe that one day there will be a change. We will not live like this forever. There will be a change. So I should not keep relenting. I should keep writing. I know that a journey of 1,000 starts with a step.
A step, yes.
Yes. As we keep going, definitely we go somewhere. And apart from that, I will still have a question to answer even hereafter. Because as a writer, I know it's God that give me the wisdom. Now, maybe after here on earth, if I fail to educate people, to tell people what you are doing is not right, if I fail to do my job, I will have some question to answer hereafter. And that will not speak well of me.
All right. Let's come back to the book.
Yes.
You understand? The Ghost Gone. Where did you get the title from?
The title.
Yes.
Well, most of the times I read a lot, and the essence of writing is sometimes for you to bridge the gap in the literature. When you read and contextualize what people are saying, what is that particular aspect that they tend not to cover? And when you look at it from that angle, from that perspective, it will guide you on what to do. And sometimes people tend to get curious looking at the title of a book.
Truthfully.
Yes, because it is a title that captures people's attention. And it comes to a time, specifically in my state, which is in the North Central, Benue State to be precise.
Okay.
It comes to a time, every market day, you will see, especially in the evening, you will see the unknown people will just enter and begin to kill people.
Assailants.
Yes, it keeps happening day in, day out. And we don't know who are behind these killings. And I asked myself, I was sleeping one day and I was dreaming, as in seeing a lot of people dying. Then I wake up in the middle of the night and I pick my pen and I inscribble something on a paper that goes to go. Because I asked myself, if people are dying day in, day out, and we cannot identify who are the people behind this killing, then perhaps it could be the ghost to go. But one thing I know is that when we come to specific issue in the book,
Yes,
you
yes.
will see them. One thing I pointed out in the book is that people who live by gun shall live by the gun. People who live by gun, that is L-I-V-E, who
Yes.
live by gun
Shall live.
by the gun.
L-E-A-V-E.
Thank you. Wow. And today, I can confidently tell you that some of the prophecy that I make in the book, they are coming to pass.
Okay, that takes me to asking you a very important question. A lot of people who are writers, I've had that experience. I wouldn't call myself a writer like prolific. I'm not as prolific as you are, but I sometimes put my pen to a paper and scribble out some things. A lot of people have this belief that there's a muse that inspires writing.
Yes.
Do you get inspired by these muses? Do you understand?
Yes.
Because, like the first question I asked you, where are your inspirations coming from? Because you just told me a story. You just told me how you came about the title of this book was like a vision,
Yes.
like a dream. You just woke up in the middle of the night when people are just there snoring, rolling from one edge of the bed to the other. You are just there, bowing your head, to write something because you had a dream. But that dream is more like, a vision to me.
Yes.
You get? Now, having had The Ghost Gone as the title, we have not really gone into the book.
Yes.
We're still on the periphery of the book. Now, having written the title as The Ghost Gone, didn't you wonder how you're going to go about writing? Where is the idea going to come from? I mean, where is the picture? Because you needed to have a picture before you start writing.
Yes.
Now, how to paint your picture on a paper? Don't you wonder about that?
All right. There is mystery in writing.
Yeah.
And any dream that you cannot picture, you cannot picture in it. Any dream you cannot picture, you cannot picture in it.
So let me get you straight.
Yes.
Any dream you cannot picture,
Yes.
you cannot feature in it.
Yes.
Please, can you explain?
Yeah. See, when you think as a writer, when you dream or when you think of something, now that will give you an avenue for you to look at it from a broader perspective. Now, when I think of something, sometimes I'll be traveling. I'll just look at something. And from that point, I will begin to think. Writers think outside the box.
Yes, true.
We don't think within, we think outside the box.
But I think I don't know if my thinking is outside the box, still outside the box. I think I may have found my way back into the box now.
Yes. So when I know I dreamed about the whole dream and I inscribble something on a paper that goes to go. Now I begin to look at it from this perspective. I first of all read so many books. And now I try to locate it within the local context to see what is happening in our society. When I read The Man Dies, that is a prison note by Wole Soyinka.
Yes.
Yes, he established some of the facts. When I read The Trouble with Nigeria by Lechi Nochebu, in the book, he pointed out that there is nothing wrong with this country, but the inability of leaders to live up to their responsibilities. And that is what we are witnessing today. Even at the end of the novel, you could see that he pointed out that people like Malam Aminu Kano and no more. And
Yes,
this country
yes,
will never be the
yes. I
same.
think there was a
Yes.
striking end
Yes,
to
yes.
that book, the trouble with Nigeria.
Yes.
He said, if I don't know if I can remember or recall the exact writing, but he said that Nigeria will never be the same again because Aminu Kano live
Here.
in Nigeria.
Yes. Now, drawing from that perspective, now, as I said earlier on, when you read people's work, there's always a gap in the literature that you need to identify.
Truly.
What is that aspect that they have not captured?
Correct. Mr. Eric,
Yes.
the aspect they have not captured, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Let's go out on a quick break. Yes.
Thank you.
And I hope you are enjoying the discussion. We are discussing the ghost gun, and this is Behind the Words Lies the Big Picture. We'll go out on a quick break. We'll come back to continue. Welcome back. This is Behind the Words, and don't forget that we are discussing The Ghost Gun, written by Mr. Eric. And Mr. Eric is right here in the studio with me, analyzing so many aspects of this very book. The book is interesting if you read it, but then if you have not read it, you hear from the horse's mouth. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, you were talking about
Bridging the gap
yes,
in the literature.
yes.
Now, they have written a lot, but sometimes they tend to not to cover a particular aspect, which when I read a particular book, I always, because there is no particular book that you just pick and say this is the end of the story. Sometimes when you read, there's much behind what you're seeing. On the face of it, it may look somehow, but if you read and subject yourself into deep thought and thinking, you can know that there is much more behind it. And I always look at that aspect. Now, if you see what is happening, they have been writing, but yet what they are trying to, the picture they are trying to paint, yet people are still killing people. We are trying to educate, to tell the youth, especially the youth, what people are doing is not right. But yet this thing keep happening day in, day out. It is not enough for you to, okay, you read and you stop. Sometimes when I read a particular book and I will see, wow, there's more to this. And that particular aspect that I feel the writer did not actually explore, then I will want to do that. And now, during these killings, and I ask myself, if we cannot face these people, even the people in authority, they cannot help the situation, then it could be the ghost gun. And now I started writing. First of all, when I think of how to write, I will sit down, and set myself into deep thinking. I will now draw out my outline, starting from the introduction, the middle, and the conclusion. I will make sure that I draw a sketch that we start from the prologue, that is the beginning of the novel.
Yes.
Then from that to the climax, the highest tension in the work, and then the denouement, the resolution. Now I look at the ghost gun. Now, since we cannot identify people that are killing the innocent soul, now it could be the ghost gun. And the reason is simple. Now, look at what is happening in a country today. The manner in which people are dying. Today, in fact, even if you read part of Nigerian newspapers today, the headlines that are dominated is more of conflict issues. 20 people have been killed here, 30 have been slaughtered, this has been massacred. This is the kind of thing you see. In fact, yesterday, I was watching a program on NTA about the Edo election on Saturday.
Yes.
You could see, I was even shocked. People were telling people on that day, people should wear jeans, women should not wear skirt, they should go out, as in it is a do or die affair. This is not democracy. Nigeria is practicing democracy, but they are not willing to imbibe the tenets that come with democracy. You understand?
Yes.
How can you come out and be telling people, prepare, wear your jeans, go out there, make sure that it's a do and die affair? That is not election. You understand? When you begin to instinct people, to prepare people's mind with this kind of tension, what did you expect? Most of the time, this killing, these people you see them killing people, taking guns, killing people, and all these things, there is much behind it. You understand?
Yes.
It is what I sometimes agree with what Professor Patti tells us the shadow causes of conflict. Who are the major instigators? Remember that there is no tall tree. Any tall tree, there is a root behind it. So any tall tree you see, there is a root behind the tall tree. And who are the root? There are people. If you see the issue of banditry, Boko Haram, there are people behind this thing. Because sometimes even the weapon that these guys are using, you tend to wonder, where did they get it from? So there are much behind this thing. So people are sometimes sponsoring these people.
So if I get you correctly,
Yes.
Mr. Eric, it is not the ammunitions
Yes.
that people, some of these assailants, some of these gunmen are handling. It is the ghost gun behind those things.
Yes.
You understand?
It is the ghost gun behind it. It is the shadow causes of those conflicts.
So that is the ghost gun.
That is the ghost gun. These are the people that are fueling the crisis. They will sit and the spotlight will be placed on the innocent people. They will be there rejoicing, celebrating what people are dying. These people, the youth you see them carrying this gun, they are just practical instruments. And what I know that there's most of them are ignorance. And ignorance is the primary weapon of containment. When you don't understand, people will go and do it and you start killing people. There is something behind these killings. But we lack the inability to subject things into deep thinking and deep thought, to ask sensible questions that could be able to bring answers. We not just read, we read and we interrogate literature. That is the essence of reading. You read and ask questions, and by doing so, you can find answers and you can be able to address some of these questions.
Yes, truthfully, you see, I may have not really gone so deep in reading this book, but then from your explanation now, it's your explanations are serving as a kicker, kicking me into going back to this very book.
Exactly.
and go through it. The ghost gun is way bigger than what I'm saying.
Yes. It's, when you look at the title of a book, sometimes you just look at it. Like when I look at most of my books, when I try to draw out the title, sometimes I picked alliteration. There's a figure of speech that is called alliteration.
Yeah, alliteration.
When
Yes.
you use the first initial consonant sound, like you see the sound here,
Yes.
the ghost gun. Some of them, they tend to give you a clear picture and they keep you thinking. Because when you look at how these words sometimes tend to sound, you will keep thinking and imagining. But most of my literary work, if you see me writing most of them, you cannot just pick my book, look at it, and then you get a clear picture. I must subject you into deep thinking and deep thought. You can just look at why the ghost go. There is a big meaning behind the ghost go.
It's more than meets the eye.
Yes. And this book, if you look at the way the book was written, is a combination of poetry and prose. Two things buried in one book.
Anyway, we will go into that by
Yes,
the time we start flipping through the pages of this very book. But then my next question is this:
Okay.
some of the pro-founders of literature, people like Robert Graves, people like the pro-founders of
Yes.
literature. One of them said, I can't remember who exactly, but one of them said that writing begins with delight
Yes.
and ends in wisdom.
Yes, yes.
Does that happen in your case?
Definitely, it happens.
How delighted are you
Now,
in writing The Ghost Gone?
okay, first of all, when I pick my pens to write, the first thing I do is I detach myself from the story and I put myself in the position of the readers.
How did you do that?
Now,
Because a lot of people are potential writers. A lot of people I have met with, people who actually call themselves writers. But then I don't think they can detach themselves from the position of the writer to the position of the reader. How do you do that?
Maybe
Do you have a silhouette? That
maybe it's
helps
because
you?
I'm from my background.
Okay.
Maybe I'm coming from the aspect of journalism.
Okay.
And
okay.
when
All
you
right.
are writing a story,
Yeah, true.
you detach
In
yourself from
journalism,
you are not
yes.
the judge here.
Yes.
You are not the audience. Let them read and judge.
All right, but that your profession, being a journalist, actually helped you,
Exactly.
in doing that.
Yes.
But what about somebody who is not a journalist? Where does it get the idea of detaching himself from the position of the writer to the position of the reader?
Actually, I cannot speak for them because I don't know. But maybe I'm very happy with this program, with this initiative you have put on board.
Yes.
Because as we keep talking, maybe other writers will come into play.
Truthfully.
And maybe they might share their own experience. But for now, let me speak for myself.
Okay, please do.
Now, I detach myself from the story. I read, I contextualize everything. And when I'm passing the message, I remove myself from the picture. Now, I write based on what is on ground, what is happening, being it fiction or non-fiction. But most of the times, the fiction you see most of the time is exactly a kind of what is happening in the society. So when I'm painting this picture, I detach myself and I allow the readers to let them read and judge. Now, I try to educate them, to make them be on the same page with me. As you are reading, there is much more you are going to learn and understand in that book. But once I begin to bring in myself, you think maybe it's a kind of autobiography. Maybe I'm trying to. You don't write to impress people. You understand?
Yes.
You write to pass message. And remember, in the message, there's always a feedback. So when you're writing, make people to digest the content, to understand this is the reason behind writing. Are you writing to educate people, to expose them to certain things that they don't know that they are doing, that it's not right? If that yes, then try to also paint a picture that it will give them a clear picture. Like in reading this book, you make sure you understand that the grammatical rules are not were clearly carefully followed. The diction, I try to make sure that it's dramatic and conversational, so that it will lighten the thick figurative expression that I was able to assemble in the book. One of the good things in writing is figurative expression. Just if a woman is cooking, you ask how this soup is nice and all these things. There are some ingredients that are behind the taste of the soup. So in writing,
So,
the figurative
the
expression is the kind of thing that I do in the book. So I paint a picture using idioms, proverbs, drawing it from the local setting. Because most of the problem we have is when you're reading foreign novels, you tend to find it it's very complex for you to understand the kind of language and the kind of setting they are trying to establish.
Yeah.
So when I'm writing, I try to make sure that all the example, everything is drawn from the local context, so that you not begin to find things difficult. My experience, my example, I draw them from the local context, and that is why the language is always drawn from a distinctive African style, using proverbs that they are people are conversant with them, so that they can be able to understand the context of the novel.
Okay, you actually read, aside from the African books.
Yes.
You understand. You have read widely.
Yes.
You have read foreign books. Now, why did you choose to settle with the African setting, the African style of writing? Is it because you are an African? You understand? Because I have, truthfully,
Yes, it's true.
I have read a lot of books that you will see the person or the writer, the author of the book is actually an African. He has not even crossed any border to any other, to the outside world, like, places like Europe or America. But then the writing, if they are writing, they write as if they are foreign writers.
Yes.
You understand? But why did you choose to settle with the African setting, African style? Because obviously in this book, the little I have gone through in this work of art, it's more like the African setting. In fact, I went through some of the proverbs you have used. We have not really gone, like in page 42. You wrote it. You said the journey had just begun. For a journey and such a journey, the road deep and the way faced with the travels, sleeping in snatches night. You understand? This
Yes.
is poetry,
Yes.
pure poetry. But then we will still go into the book. Obviously it may not be on this episode, but then we'll still go into. But then my question is, why did you settle with the African setting?
Wow, I settle with the African setting because sometimes I have my people at heart. And as I said earlier on, when I'm writing, I put my audience first. When you are able to determine who are your audience, that will give you a clue.
But then, sorry to cut you short.
Yes.
When you say you're putting your audience first, yes, that's a wonderful thing to do as a writer. I do that too, putting my audience first.
Yes.
But then you also said it, and it is glaring that even the audience you're putting first are not people who read. They don't even read, and you're putting them first.
Yes. Actually, even if they don't read, by the time I'm able to, there are some of my books, like if you read The Painful Victory of Africa, there are some that the setting is not as in a local setting.
Yes.
But there are some of this thing, when I'm writing, I take cognizance of African setting. One, they are familiar with the names. You understand?
Yes.
There are deep meaning behind the way people names people in Africa. So when you begin to use some of these names, when they are reading attached with these names, they will be able to have some kind of meaning. Even I don't just pick my cast like that.
Okay, let's not go into that yet.
Yes.
Let's go out on a quick break. We'll come back
It's
and
okay.
round it off with that.
All right.
And I hope you're with us. This is The Ghost Gun. We're discussing The Ghost Gun on this very program, Behind the Words. We are not done yet because we're still talking about the general perspective of the book, the overview of the book, how the writer, the author of the book, how it came about, the title, The Ghost Gun. I think you should read this book. We'll go out on a quick break. We'll come back and continue. Welcome back. This is Behind the Words, and we are talking about The Ghost Gun, a literature book written by Mr. Eric. And Mr. Eric is right here in the studio with me, the author of the book. And whatever we are discussing here is definitely about the book. Mr. Eric, my last question on this episode, on the book. When you're writing this book, a lot of people may have started writing maybe since 2010 until today. We have not been able to complete a book. But in your pedigree that I have read, you have written a lot of books.
And I'm still working on some.
Yes. And these books, there are books, and on the year you wrote this book was 2015. And concurrently, some books like Tivland, The Painful Victory of Africa, and Freedom in the Grave all came out the same year. How long did this book take you?
Well,
just a month?
You'll be surprised that, to be honest and candid with you, every night I used to sleep at like 2 hours. Most of the time, like 2 hours.
Just 2 hours?
Whether I'm writing or not writing, 2 hours. That has become part and parcel of my life.
Don't that affect you?
No, it doesn't. Because I've been doing that from a long time. Most of the time, it's in the night that most of my inspiration comes.
Yes.
When the
inspirations come at night. Yes. That's why I'm asking that. Do your muses visit you at night?
Yes, definitely. And I've been writing, and I am so attached to writing, so much so that I play with words on my fingertips. At times when I don't write, when I'm tapping on my system, just everything is coming afresh.
Original.
I'm just tapping. Sometimes I don't even look at the keyboard. I'm conversant with the keyboard. I'm just tapping, thinking and tapping. I subject myself. Sometimes even I've come to the extent that when I'm even going by the roadside, you see me, I'll be thinking, and sometimes I'll be talking
You'll
to
be
myself.
talking, yeah.
Because I'll be trying to
Yeah.
be connecting my part one and part two. Sometimes I'll be thinking, even there are moments that I'll be in the bathroom and you see me and I'll just rush out.
As if something
yes,
gets
I have
you
to just
out.
write something so that it will not, because one thing in writing is
Yeah.
once you
If an inspiration comes to you
Yes.
and you don't inscribe it or you don't type it in your system, if it goes, it will never come back. The
yes,
same thing.
when I was doing my MSc, there's some of my friends used to ask me, there's my laptop bag, it's always with me, and they'll be like, what is it special about this bag that I'm always carrying on everywhere I'm with this bag? The truth is, anywhere that it comes, I bring out my laptop and I start writing. Anywhere I can write, even anywhere I can write. So writing has become my hobby. Day in, day out, I'm just meditating.
I think from your achievements here, writing is not just a hobby to you, Mr. Eric. Writing has become a life
Yes,
of its own.
the truth
Your
is,
life of its own.
I know nothing apart from reading and writing. I eat the words, I drink the words, I think about the work, I work with the words.
So
And
writing is like a seed
Yes.
that you drink from.
yes,
You understand? You sit by the bank of writing
Yes,
and
exactly.
just view the shallow bottom of it.
exactly.
Wow.
And I'm very happy. Even sometimes I'm not writing, I'm not looking at the profit aspect of it. There are some of my books, they are published. And one good thing is, most of my books these days, I don't spend money to publish them. Most of my publisher in UK and all this thing, they help me in publishing my books.
That's because you're prolific,
Yes.
Mr. Eric.
Because they look at my works and all this thing, and they are quite impressed with my writings. And sometimes, as I said earlier on, it's much more. When I'm writing, I feel happy. I feel I have identified a particular problem and I'm providing a solution to it. I don't care who read or who will not read the book. But all I know is I'm doing my job. And I know that at the end, definitely, if I have 2-3 people that will read through the books, I know once you get the message, you'll be able to pass the course and it's continue in that land.
All right. Lastly, because we don't really have much time to dwell into the book proper, well, I think we'll take that in the next episode. But then, lastly, how large is the market for this book? Your readers.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if your people may have read your book, this particular book, The Ghost Gun. Let's discuss this, The Ghost Gun. Now, people may have read this book. Obviously, a lot of people have been exposed to
Yes.
your work of art. They have read The Ghost Gun. And what kind of review have you gotten so far from this book?
Wow, I can confidently tell you that millions have read this book, especially when I was serving in Lagos. I think I produced this book
But that was when you wrote this book.
Yes, that
in
was
Lagos.
2015 in Lagos when I was serving as a copa. And the first I produced like 1,000. And I was serving
1,000
yes.
copies of this
Yes.
book.
And-
Wow.
and
Mr.
I
Eric,
was-
you're this confident that people will read and buy.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I was serving in a school that is big top school
Okay.
in Lagos State. So, and I thank God for that woman and the husband. As in, when I went there, the way they took me as a son, they gave me all the support I needed. So when I produced this book, they make sure that they distribute it, they make it compulsory for students to buy in the school. So everybody will buy, and other branches in school will push the books everywhere. And I keep producing. And at times,
You had great market for this book.
yes. And I thank God for my publisher in UK. I know that sometimes they
So
tend to help me.
the book was published in the UK.
No, it's published here in
Here in
ABU,
Nigeria.
yes.
Okay, all right.
But when sometimes when I publish it, they help me to expand the scope. So that sometimes they upload it in Amazon and all that. So people can easily have access.
Okay.
The only thing is the price on Amazon is high compared to if you're buying the hard copy in a bookshop. Yes. So based on that, so many people used to read. And sometimes I receive comments through my inbox. Some people, I send them e-copies and all that and all that. So far, their comment and the scope
Review.
of readership is still okay.
Wow. All right, Mr. Eric. That's just about the general perspective of the Ghost Gun.
Yes.
You have written a lot of books, and this is just one of it.
Yes, this
You
is
know,
also one of
and I'm looking forward to having you again, because this book we have not really gone into, flipping through the pages.
Exactly.
We don't even we need to discuss the characters,
Yes.
and
The setting, the
yeah,
plot,
the
the
setting, the
themes.
plot, and
Yes.
themes, and all of
The
that.
syntax, the linguistics, and
Yes,
everything.
yes, because I can see it's a combination of
Prose and
prose and poetry.
Yes.
You understand? So we will still have another session, 2 or more sessions on this very book.
Exactly.
Then this is all about the general, perspective of how the book came into being.
Exactly.
You understand? And I want to say thank you very much for coming. This is the very first, the debut episode of Behind the Words,
Yes.
and I'm lucky. It's a big fish.
Yeah.
You're a big fish,
It is.
truthfully. Yes.
Yeah,
You're a big fish, Mr.
exactly.
Eddie.
Thank
Yeah,
you
yes,
very
you're a
much.
big fish. So I'm lucky to get you here to start this program with me, so that other young writers who are out there, who are willing to see how they can go prolific too.
Yeah.
Those who are yet to even discover the potentials, the writing potentials in them,
Yes.
at least having you here will make them feel, no, I really need to tap into that potential that I have in me and bring it out so that I can start writing. And for those who have even started writing, people like us, who have started writing, I've been writing for
Yes.
many years, and I have not been able to come up with even a single book. That's
Yeah.
that's a shame on me.
No, it's not. You are still in the process, and I'm sure.
All right,
I
all
have
right.
confidence in you. You will do it.
Yeah, I know. The so much confidence you have in
Yes.
me is what is going to make me also come up with my own work of art. With your support and inspirations from you guys, I think I will do something too. And I want to say thank you very much,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Eric. It's good to have you in the house.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And I will also want to use this medium to tell people out there is
Yes.
sometimes the place where you are, it doesn't matter. You are the one to make the place and not the place to make you. You have to focus on where you're going and not what you're passing through. The journey may not be easy,
Yes.
but at the end,
It will be worthwhile.
yes. Just like the way Machiavelli the prince says, the
Yes.
end will justify the means. So we should be up and doing at all time. We know that at the end, it will speak for us, because just the way Dr. Oyedipo says, David, he says something, and he said, life is in phases, and men are in sizes. Live your size, drink your size, drive your size, sleep your size. There's a market for everybody. I go for my market.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes I wonder, how do I even create market for my book if it finally comes out? But then, just like you said,
Definitely, you start from somewhere. True. There are some people who patronize you, and some you don't even know who's reading your book. It may be the same person that will even read your book.
correct.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Mr. Eric. That was Mr. Eric Msuta Anduva, and the author of The Ghost Gun, the book we are discussing. We are appreciating this book. We have not even gone into it. This is just the general perspective of the book. You can be part of this very program by using the social media platform showing on your screen. If you are a potential writer and you want to be part of it, please feel free. You can talk to me and we'll bring you to the studio. And we will continue this very book in our next episode. I'll say goodbye for now.